Hello dear friends, peace be with you. 2 years back, I was working as a volunteer in a HIV care home for children run by the St. Camilla's Fathers in a village near Bangalore. I was helping the children with their studies, teaching them music and talking to them about Mother Mary, the saints and the Catholic faith and so on. During my stay there, I also voraciously consumed the YouTube videos of Bishop Barron, sometimes hours together taking in the spiritual input. In doing so, I was not only revived in my Catholic faith, but also was convicted over a period of time to choose the path of holiness for my life. And before I could realize, I was falling in love with the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith. After my stay there, I came back to Chennai to discern my vocation, and I asked myself this question: what does God want me to do with my life? It was during this time that it occurred to me that if I could be spiritually benefited so much from a social media platform like YouTube, then how many more people will be benefited from the same if the Catholic laity took up the mission of evangelization in the world of social media? From then on, I was constantly discussing this with my elders and finally discerned my way through in identifying my mission with the Song on Fire Catholic Ministries. What was just a dream 1.5 years back has now become a reality. Ever since I started my journey with the Song on Fire Catholic Ministries, I've come to know these following things about the Catholic world. First, there is a great thirst among the Catholic faithful to know more about their Catholic faith. Second, there is a huge spiritual vacuum in the social media world that needs to be filled by Catholic content. Finally, the social media platforms have to be used as a medium for evangelization in our modern world today. It has been my great desire for a long time to know what the Catholic clergy and the Catholic Church thought about this particular issue. Recently, I was very fortunate to get in touch with Father Joshan Rodrigues from the Archdiocese of Mumbai. Presently, he is doing his studies in institutional church communications in Rome at the Pontifical University of the Holy Cross. Father has also been associated with the Mumbai Diocesan weekly magazine called The Examiner for over 7 years now. I am also very proud to announce that Father Joshan is the first Indian priest to be hosted on the Song on Fire Catholic channel. So please join us with this enlightening interview with Father Joshan. God bless you. Upbringing in a Catholic home kind of aids the occasion for many people.
Yes, the home is always the first home of formation, is like the first seminary.
Yeah.
Like every baptized Catholic, goes through a first seminary, which is at home.
Yeah.
But for a priest, it's always you go through multiple seminaries. You
Yeah.
know. So as we always say that we have already gone through a home of formation, through a seminary of formation while we are at home.
Yeah.
And see, it is our parents that inculcate the faith within us, who teach us how to pray, who instill in us a love for the church, a love for the Bible, for God, for the scriptures. So we develop this foundation at home, and without this basic foundation, we cannot go on to the seminary of formation later on as a priest.
Yeah.
So every priest, I would guess, if you ask him the question, would say the same thing, that he received his faith at home from his parents.
Yeah.
And even the Holy Father, even the Pope would have to acknowledge that he received his faith from his mother and from his father.
Yeah.
So that's how the faith is passed on from one generation to another.
So when exactly did you decide that you wanted to become a priest, Father?
Well, my vocation was actually a childhood vocation, because in my family we have always had a lot of religious priests and nuns.
Yeah, you're saying that.
Right now, my mom's elder sister is also a Bethany sister in Karnataka.
Okay.
So we have already had this very religious presence in our home.
Yeah.
And I would say that right from when I was about 7 years old, when I was in the second standard in school, is when I actually publicly started telling my parents and my close family members that I wanted to become a priest.
Okay.
So I always go by that scripture in the Bible from the prophet Isaiah, who says that I was anointed in my mother's womb. So I would say that right from when I was in my mother's womb, I was always destined to be a priest in that way.
Okay.
And I was formed accordingly, and I was brought up accordingly by my parents. My mother and my father were very happy that I wanted to become a priest.
Yeah.
Because in every generation, someone from my family has gone to the religious life.
Okay.
So in this generation, it was me, who joined in this one. So it was a childhood vocation. I always wanted to become a priest.
Yeah.
And then when I grew up, I was always in contact with the church fathers in my parish.
Yeah.
And the priests in my parish, in fact, inspired me a lot. It helped me to cultivate this vocation. In order to form and harvest this vocation, because I always used to love watching our priests in pastoral action and pastoral duty in church, and all the good work they were doing in Sunday school and with youth, and being a part of the Sunday school and youth and all helped me to really see how the priests were working, and I grew in admiration for the work that they were doing. And I had a lot of priests in my parish who inspired me when I was growing up as a boy. The principals who were in my school, as my principals in the school where I studied. So all of these priests made a huge impact in my life as well, and helped to strengthen that vocation that was already there within me. Then when I went to join the seminary, we had a quest program, which was run by the diocese, which helped young boys who were thinking of joining the priesthood to discern their vocation.
Okay.
So I was part of that program for 2 years over there, and then I joined the seminary after that.
Yeah, but then why were you decided to become a diocesan priest, Father? Did you have any aspirations of joining any congregations?
Yeah, that's a good question, and in fact, many people have asked me why did I join to become a diocesan priest? They would tell me, why didn't you go to join the Jesuits, for example, or the Redemptorists and all the congregations who are quite strong in Mumbai?
Yeah.
But I joined the diocesans primarily because I love Mumbai too much. I love Mumbai. I would describe myself as like a true Mumbaikar at heart.
Yeah.
And right from the beginning, one thing was clear, is that I did not want to leave Mumbai. I wanted to work for the church in Mumbai.
Okay.
And I realized that if I joined one of the religious congregations, I could be sent to any part of the world tomorrow.
Yeah.
Ironically, today I am in Rome.
Yeah.
I am in the United States.
Yeah.
So even the diocesan life has sent me out of Mumbai, but this is just a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But religious life would send me away from my home, and my vocation always has been to work for the church in Mumbai. And that is why very clearly I joined the diocesan seminary for the church in Mumbai, because I want to stay in Mumbai and to serve the people in Mumbai later when I come back as well.
Yeah. My last question in this regard, Father, you said that you had this gift of communication. So when did you discern that? When did you identify that talent in you?
Well, I wouldn't say that I have a gift for communication in that sense, because right from a small boy, I have been like a very shy child actually. I had stage fright when I was in school, and I found it very difficult to walk up to stage and to speak in front of an audience. So I would still describe myself a little bit shy in that sense, So I'm not really like a true blood communicator who loves talking in front of people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But getting into communications was quite accidental, something that I had not planned for.
Yeah.
When I was in my second year of philosophy, we had Father Tony Charangat, who is the editor of the Diocesan magazine, The Examiner in Mumbai.
Yeah.
And he came to give us a course in the seminary on communications.
Okay.
And he had given us an exercise to do, to write something, And he liked what I had written when I narrated it in class, So he realized that I have a gift for writing.
Okay.
And then one thing led to another, and he got me to work in the Examiner during my pastoral year service, which was the following year.
Okay.
And then I have been stuck with the Examiner ever since.
Okay.
And being with after my ordination, also I served as assistant editor for 2 years, and then I was sent to Rome for communications.
Okay.
So I would say that getting into communications has been quite accidental, nothing that I had planned for. But I'm learning the art of communication now, slowly and steadily.
Father, just to set the context for our interview, Father, I just would like to give some statistics about the Indian social media market. So India is the second largest growing market behind China. And over 60% of the young people are very active in the social media platforms. And also the internet usage is growing at the rate of 90%, when the overall world average is only 19%. So given this context, all and one more thing is, in all the social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, India ranks in the top 5 of the countries in terms of usage.
Yes.
So what I would like to ask you is, even though the total population of Christian population in India is only 1.2%, still we are, in terms of numbers, we rank in the top 5 again. So there is a significant population which is active in this media. So do you see a lot of opportunity both for the laity and the clergy in terms of reaching out to this population?
Yes, I completely agree with you, because India and China are the emerging markets in terms of telecommunications. Yeah. And we can see that all the big companies across the world are beginning to now start to set shop in India, from Apple and Microsoft, and they are all coming and trying to set up their factories over here in India.
Yeah.
Because the largest sales are coming from India and China, because there's a huge potential, there's a huge market.
Yeah.
and now digital communication is like an indispensable part of our lives now.
Exactly.
So like you very rightly said, even in terms of when we talk about Christians and the Catholic population, it's inevitable that reaching out to them through digital technology and through social media is something that is obligatory today. You can't just hide from the fact that we can't use this tool. You have to use this tool today. And even all the popes, right from John Paul II to Pope Francis recently, on numerous occasions when speaking about digital technology, they have said very clearly that the church has to be present on the digital continent. In the olden days, whenever the evangelizers, the missionaries went wherever the message of Christ was to be told, today the digital continent itself is considered like a separate continent by itself. And it ranks among one of the most populous countries in the world in terms of numbers of people who are active on social media.
That's a very good point.
So the church has to be present on social media. You can't just hide your face and say, no, this is not something that is not important to the church. We have to be present, and there's a tremendous potential which I can already see being realized, slowly and steadily in India as well.
But Father, before I ask you the rest of the questions, I just want your opinion on how you see the Catholic faith in India. Is it enthusiastic, excited, or you feel it's a little dormant in India?
Well, compared now, since I have been spent 2 years in Europe and now some time in the United States as well, I would say that in India and also in Asia and Africa, Southeast Asia, Africa, the Catholic Church is very vibrant if you compare it to other parts of the world.
Okay.
And from my own experience, I'm not speaking theoretically, but speaking from my own experience in the Archdiocese of Mumbai, being a seminarian and then a priest for 2 years, growing up in the Archdiocese of Mumbai, the church is very, very vibrant in Mumbai, I would say that 90% of the people come for Mass on Sundays, and almost all the children come for Sunday school there. The parishes are so active and vibrant in terms of lay ministry. And this the goal of the Second Vatican Council to have an empowered and an enlightened laity is very much being put into action in India, in the church in India. You see, the laity who are the ones who are running the ministries, who are running the churches, with priests more or less being spiritual directors today, being spiritual advisors. So the laity is very active, the laity is very empowered in the church. And if you ask any priest, I think in India, he will tell you how vibrant the church is in India, in the parishes. So the lay people are ones who give their all to the church and who work actively in the ministry and very passionately. And I'm in touch with a lot of people from Mumbai who work very passionately in their parishes. So I would say that the Catholic Church in India is very, very vibrant.
Father, so it's an undeniable fact that we need to use this, social media to kind of reach out to the people, but there is also statistics which are slowly showing that a lot of youth, the millennials, people who are teenagers now, are slowly not realizing the power and the mystery behind the sacraments of the church. So maybe they stop coming for masses, or the start going for confessions, so they are slowly moving away from the church. So for Catholics, it's always been, the church has been the place of evangelization. So now that youth has stopped coming to church, the social media provides the platform to reach out to them.
Yeah, true. I think many statistics surveys do show that young people, are not coming to church so much. Well, the situation is not so bad as it is in the West, in foreign countries. And I've had experience of young people in my church as well who have expressed to me sometimes that they feel bored during Mass. Some of them don't understand why they have to come to church on Sundays. They just see it as a ritualistic exercise that they have to go through because their families force them to go to church, to Mass. See, I think we can tackle this problem in a number of ways. Like you said very rightly, social media and reaching to them on their cell phones and digital media can help us explain to the youth what is the power of the sacraments, what is the power of coming to Mass. But social media is not the only platform. We also have to engage them in church through the youth ministry. The priests have to give engaging homilies. Like the first thing that you hear young people complaining about church is the boring homilies that are given in church. So I think if priests gave more engaging homilies, then a lot of our problems would be solved. We have a lot of masses which are celebrated for youth, like the youth masses which are held in many parishes. And I think those homilies have to be very engaging and youthful and take examples from the situations of their daily life. So social media is one aspect of attracting young people to the church, but it cannot replace also the face-to-face interaction that we have in our parishes. You have to engage young people in church during confirmation classes, for example, when they are in Sunday school, when they're in confirmation. If we engage them in all these platforms, we can bring youth back to the church or prevent them from leaving, whatever the case may be. So social media is just one aspect of resolving this issue.
Father, and another thing, most of the youngsters come to church or, have an encounter with God or think about God only on, the Sunday, which is an obligation for them. So, the rest of the 6 days they are in the world, in midst of the world, in the secular world. So this social media platform, provides us the opportunity to kind of engage them in their lifestyle.
Okay.
Would you agree to that point?
Yes, I agree very much to that point that we have to engage with them on social media as well. I want to explain one thing. When it comes to social media evangelization, you cannot have social media evangelization unless you have first had that relationship, that face-to-face relationship with people in church as well. We cannot replace the human evangelization with social media evangelization. Social media is an aid or an help to the real evangelization that happens. Just take, for example, WhatsApp or Facebook, for example. You have such an overdose of information coming to you and information overload that is coming to you. So many, like hundreds of messages that we get on Snapchat or Instagram and this one. And young people, and even me, for example, quite often, we don't have the time to check all those messages. Now ask yourself, whose messages do you really check when you get all those messages? You check messages of those people who have a close relationship with you. People whom you know, your friends, your family. You do not check messages of people, or you just scroll over messages of people whom you like, who are on the peripheries. You don't really know them. So if you want to send messages about the faith, about the church to them, so young people will check messages only of the priests whom they have met in church, whom they have had a face-to-face interaction with. If you are an unknown priest to them, if they're receiving a message from an unknown Catholic website, whom they do not know, whom they have never really interacted with, they will just scroll over the message and they will not really even open the message and read it. So what I think, something that is important that we need to realize is that without the human face-to-face interaction and relationship, social media evangelization is not going to work. It's going to be a complete failure. If I want to engage young people on social media, I first have to meet them in church or in their homes or in their colleges or wherever they are. First develop that relationship with them. And once I have developed that relationship, that bond of trust between them and me, then they will listen to me when I'm talking to them on social media. Otherwise, they will not even open my messages. They will not even see the videos that I send them. They will just scroll over it and go to see what else their friends have posted online. So I think this real virtual dynamic between the internet and real life is something that we need to put into perspective, and which is very important.
So what you're trying to say is, without the real evangelization, face to face, the social media evangelization becomes little ineffective because of the lack of relationship.
Becomes ineffective.
So, and Father, this social media burst has also brought the generation into kind of a visual aided generation. So even if you see the church history, the church has always kind of encouraged the visual aspect of the church, very much. If you see the icons, the statues, and the artistic beauty,
stained glass windows, the beautiful churches,
the architecture. So do you think that today the church also needs to understand to use more of visual aids to evangelize the Catholic faithful in a better way, especially in the Indian context?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is not something which is just a modern phenomenon, but right through history, like you very correctly mentioned, it is the visual aids that have helped to transmit the faith. The cathedrals, the stained glass windows, the architecture and art has what has transmitted the faith to the people right from the ages. So this is not something new to us, and any number of studies will show you that people respond more to visual stimuli, to visual stimulus, to videos and audio more than if you just put a text in front of them. Like if you reach out to people through a text or through an image, people are going to check the image first. They are not going to see the text. They are not going to read the text. So and social media does this very well. We have to know how to work on these graphics and produce high quality audio video resources and graphics in order to reach out to the people. The quality of the resources that we put out has to be very important and has to be of good quality to do that.
Yeah, Father, and also you said that since you've been in the western part of the world for at least now 2.5 years, you said the church in the West is very rich, so they are able to afford the kind of equipments that is needed to bring out good quality. And you also spoke that the church in India is not as rich as it is in the West. So do you think it's a barrier, or we still strive to be excellent in that area in terms of quality?
Yeah, what you pointed out is true. See, the church in Europe and in the States, for example, has much more money than the church in India, for example, if you want to talk about the Indian context.
Yeah.
And currently, I am doing an internship with the DCELS Media Group in New York.
Yeah.
And they have such a lot of high-end equipment, which
Yeah.
they're using for the work of media evangelization.
Yeah.
But if you go to think about it, not having money is not really a barrier
Yeah.
to communication.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because we all know that today you can start, it doesn't take any money to shoot a video. You can use a normal camera that you have, which doesn't cost much in order to shoot a video.
Yeah.
You can start a blog, you can start a website for free, you can put up things on YouTube and so many other social media channels which allow you to do things completely free.
Yeah.
So compared to the past when you did really need to have an investment to start a media outlet or to start some ministry on media,
Yeah.
today a lot of the tools are available to us free online.
Yeah.
So I don't really think that we can complain about saying that we don't have enough money to do this sort of work, because I think even with having zero amount of money also, you can do a lot of communication work online. And we have a lot of organizations who are doing that, who are doing a lot of work with having almost like no budget at all.
Yeah.
And they are doing fantastic work.
Like me.
All you need is motivation, and you need a strong faith, you need a motivation to do something. Yeah, exactly like you said, like the song On Fire, for example. All you need is your laptop, you need an internet connection, and you are doing wonderful ministry.
Yeah.
So you are an example of this one yourself.
Yeah, Father, and also the church speaks about the three transcendentals, which are the good, the truth, and the beautiful. Now, in today's secular world, when you tell this is the truth, they say, both truth and the good has become relative for people. There is no objective truth and objective good. So, that leaves us with the only option, which is beauty. And today, I think, it provides us a great opportunity to show the beauty of the Catholic lifestyle, because even among Catholics, we feel that our Catholic faith is kind of boring and it's very traditional and ritualistic. But, the fellowship that we share, the events that we have, the programs that we have, I think it could be kind of circulated in this digital world for them to see what the Catholic faith is all about. Would you agree?
Okay. Yeah, when you speak about truth, goodness, and beauty, it's true what you said that things have become very relative today in the modern world. Like as Pilate asked Jesus, "What is truth?" And today we are entering into the era of fake news, for example, when we can't make out what is true from what is false.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
So in this, it's even more important for the church to be present online in this age. Because see, by experience, I know a lot of my friends and parishioners who know me personally. Whenever they receive these messages, which don't seem to be true, or they seem to be, wishy-washy in that sense, they send me those messages first and they ask me, Father, is this message true? I got this message from one of my friends, but they have been wise enough not to pass it on and not to forward it to their other groups. And they ask me, Father, is this true? Has this really happened and all that? Because they trust that a priest would know better, in terms of what's happening in the church to say whether this is true or not, for example. So it's very important for priests and for the church to be present online, so that we can help the people discern also the information that we, see, there's a lot of information coming in today. And people need help to understand what information is genuine, what is morally right, what is morally wrong. So we have to be there online, and we need to train people as well to understand how to make sense of the information that we are receiving in that sense. So whether it is truth and goodness and beauty, for all three aspects, I feel that the church has to be even more present today than it was in the past, because people find it difficult to make out what's true and what's not. And when you talk about the beauty of the Catholic Church, see, the church is very, very beautiful. When you come to its traditions and the saints and the teachings of the church, see, you will not understand beauty unless you get into it. You don't learn to swim until you jump into the swimming pool. When two people fall in love, we are not talking just about exterior beauty, that a man likes the beauty of a woman, but he understands the true beauty of a woman only when he gets to know her, person to person. What are her interests, what are her likes, what does she think, and what are her opinions about the world, what are her interests. It is, in order to understand the inner beauty of a person, you have to engage with that person. You have to spend time with that person. And the same is it with the church as well. You will not understand the beauty of the church unless you spend time with the church, unless you take the effort to read something about the church and find out why things happen that way. Why does the church say something and not something else, for example? The church has moral teachings, the church has taken a stand on different things. Why is the church saying that? There are so many resources available online. And if I don't enter it, if I don't take the effort to read that, to understand my faith, I will not understand the beauty of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is not just automatically evidently beautiful to me. That's I have to make an effort to study the church in order to understand its beauty.
And also, you rightly said, Father, that we need to be part of this digital world, not only to kind of convey the faith, but also certain times we have to defend it, because there is so much of wrong perception and wrong teachings about what the Catholic Church is truly about. So I have had a lot of experiences where there were certain statements made about the church which are absolutely not true, and I don't know from where they got those statements. And a lot of Catholics in our friend circle kind of came and said, this is the true teaching, this is what the church teaches, your perception is wrong. So it also gives us an opportunity to defend and clarify.
Yeah, no, that's true, because there's a lot of confusion online. And you have a lot of vitriolic comments sometimes being posted by people who don't believe in the church, or people who are atheists. They sometimes post very nasty comments on posts, saying that all this is hogwash and religion is just superstitious nonsense of the past and all. So like I said earlier, it's important for us to present the truth, as to why we are saying what we are saying, and that's important. Someone who does this very beautifully is Bishop Robert Barron. I'm sure you know Bishop Robert Barron. And he always shares in his testimony that when he first started posting videos on YouTube, when YouTube had just started in the early 2000s, and the Word on Fire had just started making these little videos and posting, he felt that people would he would get a lot of positive comments and people would appreciate what he was doing. And he said he was shocked by the type of comments that started appearing in the feed below on YouTube, because a lot of people who are angry and atheists and people who didn't like the church and who didn't believe in the church started posting a lot of nasty comments in the sections below there. And he was shocked when he saw that initially, and he realized that social media can also be like a double-edged sword. You get the good and the bad together in social media. But then he took it up as his ministry to listen to these people as to what objections they were having with the church. And that made him understand what he needs to focus upon and how he needs to explain the beauty of the church better to these people. So he started taking in their questions to see what were their objections to the church, and he started focusing on those aspects and explaining, the viewpoint of the church. So this is what helped him to make his ministry even more effective and even reach out to the non-believers, in that sense. So this is how we must engage people, because see, social media is not always going to be good and positive. You're going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly all together in social media. So you have to have a very positive attitude and with the heart of Christ. Has Christ always encountered the Pharisees and the Sadducees, people who were opposed to him during his ministry. So the Catholic Church is also going to have people who oppose them, even on the social media, online. So with the Spirit of Christ, as Christ engaged those people who did not believe in him, so we too are also called to engage people who don't believe in the church or who have objections to the church, so that through love and through a good explanation of our faith, through humility, we are able to show them the true light of the church and the true light of the faith.
And also, Father, another question is, as you know that we are a minority in India, and so India is a Hindu-dominated country. So what I wanted to ask you is, this social media gives us a platform and a leverage to reach out to non-Christians also in a very effective way, because one thing is, we are not forcing them. If they want to see, they can volunteer to see it. And the second thing is, we are able to say and attest to the truth as we will not be able to do on a face-to-face interaction. Would you agree, Father? What do you say?
2 points. First is that even though we are a minority in India, considering that India has a population of more than 1 billion, that minority also comes out to a significant number. Even if you say about 2.5% of 1 billion people is a lot of Catholics, is a lot of Christians. And when I talk to my friends here in Rome who are from Latin American countries which are entirely Catholic, which are 90% Catholic. But if you see the number of people who are actually active and who are practicing and coming to church, sometimes the minority in India far surpasses the number in many of those countries. So if you look at the active participants, those who are practicing their faith, sometimes the Indian Catholics are much more than Catholics in many other traditional countries. For example. Now coming to the non-Catholics, to the non-believers, we have to be careful in our attitude towards them. See, evangelization, we have to understand that the goal of evangelization is not baptism. But the goal of evangelization is to introduce the person of Jesus to other people. To tell them the story of Jesus, to introduce them to other people. And see, because even Jesus in his lifetime did not did not aim to start a new religion. He was a Jew himself, and he was talking to the other Israelites and the Gentiles. But he was calling them to a deeper understanding of God, to a higher moral life, and to a life of love, basically. So even our goal in evangelization, when we reach out to people of other faith, our attitude should not be to discredit their religions and to tell them that your religion is false and only my religion is true. That is not the goal of evangelization. The goal of evangelization is to introduce Jesus to others and to show the beauty that is within our faith. Because finally evangelization happens only through an example of our life. An example of our life, not only by preaching and by telling them that Christianity is the only true religion. But when they hear the story of Jesus, when they see the goodness that is with him, we have to also accept that the Holy Spirit plays a large role in bringing people to the faith. So we do our part, but the final step of evangelization does not rest with us, but it is the work of the Holy Spirit. So we are just instruments of the Holy Spirit who are leading people to the faith, but then it is the Holy Spirit that moves and changes people's hearts. So when we engage with people of other faiths, we have to respect their beliefs. We have to respect their religious traditions, because see, there is a lot of goodness and beauty in their religious scriptures as well, and the Second Vatican Council in one of the major documents also pointed out that there are seeds of truth in other religions as well. Every religion talks about beauty and truth and goodness and calls people to a higher way of living. So we have to, when we talk to them, we have to identify these common points of reference, which are between Hinduism or Islam or Christianity, and then build upon that. Finally, it is about living as better human beings. And then we do our work, and then we leave the rest to the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit does and goes where it pleases.
Father, my next question is having the Catholic content in the social media platform. There are so many sources which produces secular content. They are more exciting, more attractive, more interesting, and so I always in fact this was one of the greatest inspirations for me to start Song on Fire, to have the Catholic content in everybody's feed. And because most of them are spending so much time in YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all other social media platforms, if what they are going to get is only secular message, then that's what is going to breed in them. But we find also our space to kind of project the Catholic faith and its teachings and its lifestyle. Then we are also kind of giving the that also into their mind. So I think it's
what you said is true, is that there are so many beautiful Catholic websites and resources available online, but the thing is, most of our people are not aware of these resources that are present online. See, to be very honest, even I discovered a lot of Catholic websites only after I entered into the field of communication. When I was not into communications, I did not know that all these websites existed. So one of the primary tasks, I think, for us as those who are involved in the ministry of media, Catholic media, is to also, one is to produce good content, is to produce good local content, but secondly is also to connect our people to all these beautiful resources that are available online. Because some of these websites are so beautiful, I am sure that if people were introduced to these websites, that they would follow them. You have Catholic Link, for example, you have Life Teen, you have Aletheia, you have the National Catholic Register, you have so many beautiful websites that which have faithful Catholics who are passionate about their faith, writing on different aspects of the. So we have to introduce people to these websites, and second is also produce good local content, because quite often in India there is a paucity of resources. So the attitude in India quite often is to borrow resources from these foreign websites and try to use it in India. I think it's high time that we start creating our own content for social media. I think we are just at the initial stages of doing that, and we are not doing a lot. So we need to have dedicated resources in place so that we create local content for Indian audiences, for the Catholic.
Father, and I've heard these statements. A lot of Catholics themselves say, social media is waste of time. I don't want to waste my time. But whenever they say something like that, I'm just thinking, if you are, a lot of people would have told the same thing to Bishop Fulton Sheen when he started his television series. So I think we cannot, as Catholics, we should not completely discard it as a waste of time. I think we should use it as a powerful medium to reach out. So would you clarify that myth to people who think it's a waste of time?
See, social media, people said the same thing about television also. A lot of people said about television that television is a waste of time. See, the problem, the issue behind calling something a waste of time is that people don't find good content. And when you don't find good content which is going to engage you, you get bored and you get fed up. See, if you look at television today, you have like 100 channels on cable TV.
Yeah.
And I've had this experience. Now, see, I have stopped watching television in the last few years, because even when I watch television, I just keep, scrolling through all the channels, 100 channels, and there is nothing to watch, even though there is 100 channels over there. There's nothing worthwhile watching on any of these channels. So the same thing goes with social media. Quite often, see, one thing that I wanted to address is that, we have some Catholics who are very passionate about social media and all that. But then you also have to be aware of what content you are sending out. Like I have some people, some contacts who keep sending me like these spiritual messages, and if you don't pass on this message to 10 other people, bad luck will fall upon you. And these good morning messages and all. See, if for example, if you are in my contact list, and if you keep sending me messages, that don't interest me, these regular run-of-the-mill spiritual messages and nothing different and nothing novel. After some time, I'm going to switch off, and I'm not even going to read the messages that you will send across to me. But in the initial days, if I have realized that you are someone who sends me good content, whenever I receive a message from you, I will make it a point to open the message and to read what you have sent. So it depends on what sort of content we send each other. Like I have a broadcast list on WhatsApp also, on whom I have like a group of people, my parishioners, friends and family, to whom whenever I get some good content from Catholic Link or a good image or a good animation, for example, I make sure that I send it across to people. Now I have developed a relationship of trust with these people, and these people know that when they receive a message from Father Joshan, it's going to be a good content. So they make it a point to check the messages that I send. I don't send people typical good morning messages and spiritual messages and pray for me and send this across to 10 other people. So they know that they will never receive messages like that from me. So they know that. So whenever I receive good images of like an animated message or an infogram, for example, talking about a saint's life, for example. So I search websites for good content, and then I share those contents with the people on my broadcast list. So you have to develop this relationship of trust with people, and think about what you are sending across to people. And then they will not be bored. They will definitely check out social media if they get good content. That is what I believe.
Father, and I also used to tell people that if you're going to see social media as a way of entertainment for you to satisfy your desires or your likes, then it's going to be boring after a period of time when you don't get the content that you want. But you, as Catholics, as people who are called to be missionaries, called to spread the good news, we should look at it as a way of reaching out to people, getting to know them, engaging them, and kind of leading them into the path of holiness. So I think that's the clarification that is needed for a lot of laity who are confused whether to engage, not to engage, whether it's good or not.
I think the advent of social media has been very beneficial in a way, in the sense that it has helped increase the level of knowledge about the faith for many lay people.
Very true, yeah, Father.
Because initially it would only be like when you came for Sunday Mass or when you came to church, you would receive some information about the faith, But now through social media, people are learning a lot more about the saints, about the traditions of the church, and things that they never knew before in the past. They are learning now at home through their cell phones, So I feel that social media has been like a great blessing in the sense that it has helped improve our knowledge about our faith. And a lot of lay people are talking about things that, probably our parents and our generation before that never talked about when it came to their faith in that sense. They came to church, they were faithful Catholics, they preached, they prayed. But if you ask them, like, if you ask your grandparents also, for example, what are the 10 commandments? Or who are the 12 apostles of Jesus? I doubt that many of them would have been able to name the 12 apostles in that sense, or things about the faith and the liturgy and the moral tradition of the church. So social media has been a great blessing, and it has helped us to catechize people more, and people now are more knowledgeable about the faith than ever before, I feel.
Yeah, Father, and also you kind of touched on this point where, I was also saying that, social media gives us an opportunity to be part of people's lifestyle. Like, for one example that I would like to quote is like, I wait for the podcast of Bishop Barron. So it is part of my schedule. So I listen to his sermons, I listen to the interviews that they do on podcast, on YouTube. So it's like, become a medium where I gain in knowledge, the spiritual input. So it has some immense power in kind of being part of people's lifestyle. That's what I was hinting at. What do you think, Father?
Yeah, definitely. I think like you gave the example of Bishop Robert Barron is someone whom I follow also very closely, and I love listening to his podcast as well. Is because Bishop Robert Barron is like considered like a modern Fulton Sheen in the sense that he helps to break down the faith in simple terms to people. He helps explain the faith to people in like normal everyday language, using examples from everyday life. He goes to the movies, he watches a movie, and he brings out the Catholic aspects from a movie which he has just seen, for example. So we have to do this. We have to explain our faith in normal everyday life. How does the teachings of the church, people know morally what is the teaching of the church, but how do you apply that to your daily life is something that I think mediators of communication need to do. Break down the message of the church so that people understand, what is the beauty of the church and how do we practice what the church teaches into our daily life. Because a lot of parishioners in the parishes where I've been have told me that, Father, we are very faithful and we always want to follow the teachings of the church, and quite often when we fall into sin and temptation, we feel guilty about it, but the thing is that sometimes we don't know where to ask for help, We don't find resources where someone can explain to me how to live out the moral teaching of the church in my daily life. So people are looking out for help and assistance, and a lot of websites and blogs and articles written by people are really helping a lot of our Catholic laity to live out the moral teachings of their life, in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, Father. And Father, you being a priest, I think you will have a sense of what needs to be done in terms of clergy becoming more aware of this burst of the social media. So what are some of the things do you think that the church and the congregations need to do in terms of giving a formation which will incline them towards using this media for proper evangelization?
Joseph, I'm glad that you asked this question, because I think this is a very, very important aspect of the social media evangelization of the church. For one thing, I feel that in the seminaries, every seminarian should receive like a basic formation in communication. Because like I pointed out earlier, people are going to pay attention to messages on social media if it comes from a person whom they trust and whom they know personally. Now Catholics, how do Catholics interact with the church? Their first point of communication with the church is with their local parish. They don't engage with the universal church at large, but they engage with their local parish. They know the priests who are in their parish. So therefore, when a priest from their parish sends the messages on social media, that message becomes more effective. So we have to use our parishes and all the priests as like nodes of communication, has many satellites of communication which send out messages. And therefore, it is very, very important I feel for every priest to be given like a basic training in communication while in the seminary, because this is a reality of the 21st century now. Like we may be trained in theology and philosophy and all the other ecclesiastical subjects, but if you do not know how to communicate on digital media, you are losing a lot of your audience. So because priests need to understand also that there is a different language for different platforms. Now, for example, if I give a homily in church on Sundays, I have prepared a homily for church on Sundays, and I want to share that homily with my larger audience on Facebook, for example. A lot of the priests make the mistake of just copying and pasting the text that they have prepared for Sunday on Facebook directly. They just copy the text and they paste it on Facebook. See, this is not if you post an entire homily on Facebook, I wonder how many people are actually going to read your homily on Facebook. So you have to adapt your message to every platform. The language of Facebook is different from the language of Instagram, of Twitter, of Snapchat. And you have to adapt the language that is on those platforms.
Very true.
And to do that, you have to train people in the seminary. You have to train all the priests in the seminary so that they know how to communicate when they get out into the world. In that sense, teachings on abortion or contraception or the moral teaching of the church. Like this is what we are learning in communications. When I'm a student of communications, we are learning how to translate the moral teaching of the church into actionable, into the language in which people understand. Which will make an effect on social media in that sense. Now today, if you tell people that abortion is wrong, if people ask you why is abortion wrong, you can't tell them abortion is wrong just because the church teaches that it is wrong. That's not a valid argument today. You have to explain to them why abortion is wrong without bringing the church into it first, because it's part of natural law in that sense. Finally, let me also tell you that as part of one of my subjects in Rome, I took up one of the dioceses. I won't tell you which diocese. I took up one diocese in the world, and I did a little research on all the priests of that diocese who are active on Facebook, for example. I took Facebook as like a sample of the social media, and I was looking into how many priests are actually active on Facebook and how many of them are actually evangelizing on Facebook, doing evangelizing or communicating the message of the church. And you would be surprised to know that the final percentage came down to just 2%. Just 2% of the priests of the diocese were doing any effective social media evangelization or communicating the message of the church, So this shows the need that, priests have to be trained in social media even while they are in the seminary. I think that is fundamental and very important. We can do a lot of work at the diocesan level, but if we don't train every priest to have a sense of communication online, I think our work is going to be hampered.
Yeah, Father, and also since we are tending towards more of a virtual world than the real world, people kind of understand the personality and the character of each person, each individual, of from what they see from Facebook or the YouTube videos. So as Christians, it's also very important that we maintain our character and a sense of the Christian faith, even when we are in these social media platforms, like not posting something which is not good, immoral, or what do you think about that?
No, it's true that as Catholic, what you like, see, they say that what you post online remains forever over there. We have had the recent example of now Donald Trump here in America has appointed a new communications director,
Anthony
Scaramucci, his name is, if I'm not mistaken. And if you have read that, he was at one point of time in his life, against Donald Trump and all his policies.
He was a hack.
And he used to tweet a lot of things against Donald Trump. Now he is in the process right now of deleting all those old tweets. Because he is now the communications director for Donald Trump, and he doesn't want to have all those old tweets over there. But the press has already gone through his Twitter handle and has already taken out all those feeds. So we have to be careful what you post online, because even when you push the delete button also, it remains somewhere out there in the digital world. What you have posted online is never ever deleted. It remains forever. You may delete it from your account, but it remains on the servers of Google or of Facebook or wherever they are in the world. So let's not make that mistake of thinking that you have deleted it and it's gone. It's not gone. It's still out there. And people who have got like a basic knowledge of technology and who have got good hacking skills can take out all your past from the computer. So it's very important, like you said, that we have to present ourselves well on social media as well. That see, it's the basic principle of evangelization or missionary work, is that people are attracted more by the way of your life, by the actions that you perform, rather than by your words. You have those famous words of Saint Francis, who said that preach always, and when necessary use words. If necessary use words. You have to preach with the example of your life. And now how do you translate that on social media? It's like, so what you post on social media is like a reflection today of who you are. And I recently wrote an article on my blog as well as to what is the legacy that you're leaving online. Because let us remember, because we post a lot of sometimes funny things and weird things online. But people maybe 100 years down the line, suppose your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren want to learn about what type of a person you were, what type of a person was my great-great-grandfather. And they are going to go back on digital records and social media, and they will check your feed as to like what were the things that you were posting, what type of a person was my grandfather. And imagine the things that they will find online, if you have posted some nonsense and some weird stuff, and they will get a very different picture of who you were in that sense, So what we post online is like our online legacy that we are leaving over there. So we have to be very careful, and we are, it's important to educate young people also as to be careful what they are posting online, because it may seem like very harmless now, but in the days to come, in the years when you grow ahead, you may regret what you have posted, So don't post things online that you would regret later on in your life, So like the principal rule is always take a moment to think before you post something online, Be very careful what you post online. So Catholics also need to present themselves in terms of gospel values online, especially when we engage with non-believers, with people of other faiths, or even fallen away Christians, for example. We have to always, the primary word is love over here. The main word is love. Jesus always engaged with people with love, and even on social media, we have to engage other people with love. So sometimes even when people attack us online and they may post nasty comments or they may not agree with what we are saying, we have to respond in love, we should never make the mistake of getting angry or of losing our temper and of posting some nonsense in return to them and replying to them in their own words in that way. That is not how a Catholic should behave online. So there are certain rules of social media that we need to follow. But I think if we take the gospel values into account, those are basically more or less the rules of social media, that we have to engage people with love and with patience and with compassion.
Yeah, Father. And I already spoke about this particular point with you, Father. In terms of the clergy being more kind of using the social media to kind of create a fellowship in the parish level, that as you were talking about, having these WhatsApp groups, being active in the Facebook world. So what is your sense of how the Indian clergy is kind of using the social media? What would your advice be for the priests who have already been ordained?
Well, I think that the clergy have a long way to go in using social media effectively, because if you look at the current picture and statistics, I don't think, like, it's like, in a way, the clergy has never been trained, for the digital media.
Yeah.
So like I said in an earlier point also, that we have to train our seminarians before they become priests.
Yeah.
And I don't think, personally speaking, I think very few priests are using social media effectively. And that is becoming a big barrier, because imagine if every priest in India were to use social media effectively. See, make no mistake, all the priests are on social media. Most of the priests use WhatsApp, at least WhatsApp, if not anything else. Most of the priests use WhatsApp or Telegram or some other messaging app for communication. So imagine if every priest did a little bit of evangelization online and help people understand, discern different messages that they're receiving. Social media work would be that much easier. So we have a long way to go, I think, in terms of clergy learning how to use social media effectively. And I think we have to look for the future, to our future priests, for that, and like begin formation in the seminary. Because see, once you are ordained, it's very difficult to bring people together, to bring priests together to train them in social media, because they have a lot of other things going on in the parish. So the place where you have to train them is in the seminary. You have to give them information in the seminary.
Father, and also, we kind of Indians, especially the people in Asia, have an inferior feeling towards the West. Especially when it comes to kind of using our talents and the opportunities that we have to evangelize. So as I was speaking, there are so many Catholic speakers from US, Catholic websites, and so many resources which are provided from America. So, but also, even in India, we have Indian origin developments like the Shalom TV and also the Jesus Youth Movement. So these kind of developments should kind of inspire us to take up this challenge of social media with full arsenal.
Yes, yeah. No, like you pointed out, we already have, see, first of all, I am very proud to be an Indian Catholic, and I don't feel inferior, if you ask me, because when I interact with priests from other parts of the world and all this one, I feel that my church in Mumbai is very, very vibrant and very enthusiastic, and with a very passionate laity about their faith. And I'm very proud of the work that we are doing in Mumbai, So, I don't think we should give ourselves credit for the work that we are doing. And we should not feel inferior to people in the West, because the West is now struggling to get people to church, into church. In Europe, for example, there are lots of good websites and people doing communications, and every diocese has got like a media channel and a media outreach and all. But if you ask him what has been the effectiveness of all the social media campaign, how many people are you actually getting back into church? The answer would be very disappointing, because if you go to church, you will still not find people in church. In Europe, Europe is being secularized completely in that sense. Well, at least in America, a lot more people are coming to church, But then you have to evaluate social media evangelization on the basis of how many people have you been able to get back to church. If people are going to be happy reading your texts and messages at home, but if they're not coming to church, I don't think social media has been effective. The goal of social media should be to get people to church finally, because the church is finally the ark of salvation. You are not going to be saved on your cell phone at home through WhatsApp. You have to be a part of the Catholic community in church and receive the sacraments. You have to invite people to the sacrament of reconciliation, to the sacrament of the Eucharist and all. So that has to be our evaluation. That has to be the basis or the criteria on which we evaluate. And like you mentioned, like Shalom TV and all, for example, South India, in Andhra Pradesh, I think we have a lot of many Catholic channels who are doing a great job, and a lot of people watch those channels for a significant amount of time each day. So like I said, the church is already doing well in India, but I think we can do much more. Because compared, like for example, in the United States and all, there is a lot of potential in India which we need to realize. There is no limit to the amount of things that we can do in India. So we need to realize that potential. It does not cost a lot of money, as I've said earlier. Even with minimum resources, you can do a lot of good work in terms of evangelization. So the sky is the limit. No one is actually holding us back in India in terms of doing evangelization. We are free to do it. I don't think there are any barriers to evangelization. And like some of these initiatives have been taken by Shalom TV and Madam TV and many other and there are some famous there are some good websites and blogs in India as well. The CBCI has done a revamp of its website. The CBCI, the Catholic Bishops Conference of India, has done a revamp of its website. There is a lot of potential in India, and I think it depends on our motivation and our passion, how much we want to do for the faith.
Father, my last question, as you see in the letters of Paul, that Paul used the things, the gods of the Greeks to kind of reach out to them. So today, yeah. So what would be your advice for the Catholic faithful in India? There are so many people who are interested in the social media, but still are thinking twice to use it for effective evangelization. So what would be your advice to all of them, Father?
Well, the primary thing, like you gave the example of Saint Paul, is that he uses the typical formula which we use for evangelization, which is begin with what the people know. Begin with the circumstances and situations of the people. So when he gave that famous sermon at the Areopagus among the Greeks, he also picked out he began with what they knew and then went to talk to them about Jesus and about the faith as well. These last few Sundays we have been listening to the parables of Jesus during the Gospels. Jesus was like a master communicator, and he would explain things about the kingdom of God using examples from their daily life, from agriculture, from farming, from fishing. So like I told the people also during the homily this Sunday is that, see, in the city of New York, for example, because I'm in New York, when the gospel is talking about farming and agriculture, most of the people don't know what the hell is going on. Because they have never farmed or done agriculture in their life. So they may not understand a farming parable in that sense. So we have to adapt the gospel message and use it to things that are relevant to our lives today. We have to develop modern parables. That's the thing. We have to develop modern parables, and we have to communicate in that way. So like a lot of people are doing this very well, like Bishop Robert Barron, or a lot of the Catholic websites like Aletheia, for example, or Catholic Link, for example. I have started my own blog a couple of after this Easter I began my own blog which is called Musings in Catholic Land. You may have seen that. And the aim of my blog is also like to use things from the daily life of the people and try to explain the faith to them. For example, using the movies or using the culture or music, for example. What type of music are people listening to? What is the latest movie that has come out? So using these things that people engage in their day-to-day life, you can talk about the faith in that sense. Like don't use remote examples that people would not concern with in their day-to-day lives in that sense. So in that way, if you talk about faith in terms of things that are important to you, in terms of relationships, the people who are important to you, I think people will be very interested in learning about the faith and they will understand it better. Just like the audience of Jesus understood the parables and remembered it and they got the message. If we speak in terms of modern parables, our people will get the message as well. I believe that.
Yeah, Father, I'm really proud and very happy to say that you are the first Indian clergy that I'm hosting on the Song on Fire channel, and I feel really proud about it. So thank you for taking the time, Father. I think it's a very important topic, and I think we have addressed it to kind of create inspiration and encouragement to the Indian Catholic faithful. So thank you so much, Father, for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I was very happy to do this interview with you, and like I've said, I think you're doing great work.
Thank you.
And after you have contacted me, I have watched a lot of the interviews that you have put up on your channel, A Song on Fire. And I like this aspect of how you ask people who are passionate about their faith and ask them to discuss issues, and they give their testimonies and talk about their faith. So I'm very happy to learn that I'm the first Indian clergy on your. I think that's the first, and I think it's a big privilege to be. In fact, some of my friends, when they realized that I was doing the interview with you, they said they're very happy that I'm doing this interview with you on Song on Fire. So a lot of people are watching you on YouTube, and I think you're doing fantastic work, and I'm happy to do this interview, and I want to wish you all the best for the future as well, Joseph.
Thank you.
Carry on the work that you're doing, and I hope that you inspire many more people like you also to do this work of evangelization, and without spending a lot of money.
Thank you so much, Father.